Hello and welcome to another book review. Today, I want to talk to you about The Last Town by Blake Crouch, the third and final title in the Wayward Pines Trilogy, as indicated here by the 3 trees on the spine. I forgot to show you that. Pines has 1 tree, Wayward has 2 trees, and The Last Town has 3 trees. So this is just the trade edition. The previous 2 titles I showed you, the Gauntlet Press, Borderlands Press edition. I did not buy that for this one. Just because I was disappointed with the previous 2 versions. And then I had found these incredible trade editions signed by Blake Crouch. So anyways, it's going to be hard to talk about this without spoiling the previous 2 titles. So let me kind of give you a brief recap without getting any spoiler territory. First one begins with Secret Service agent Ethan Burke being sent to the town of Wayward Pines, Idaho to investigate 2 missing officers. The town has a lot of Twin Peaks style mystery about it, and it is one hell of a mystery thriller. The second title finds him as the sheriff in that town, and he is now investigating a murder. So it's a murder mystery. It ends with a cliffhanger. And The Last Town picks up immediately with that cliffhanger. So if the first one was your mystery thriller, the second one was your murder mystery, the third one is your action survival novel. This was the most, there's plenty of action in the other ones. There's plenty of action and suspense. But this one, it hits the ground running. Let's just say the town is in some serious trouble from the final events of the second novel. And they are having to try to survive immediately right off the bat. So there's a lot of different point of view chapters in the beginning of this novel. Primarily, the first novel was just Ethan Burke and occasionally chapters of his wife. Second one added in 2 other characters. This one adds in a whole slew of characters. It's almost to a degree like the horror at Pleasant Brook by Kevin Lucia. That novel had a lot of point of view characters, and then for obvious reasons, a lot of those point of view characters start dying. So you're not going to have as many point of view characters by the end of this. But man, what a crazy read! It definitely wraps up the trilogy, and I will say this: I don't want to say it ends on a cliffhanger. It ends on a piece that is open for interpretation. And I want to speak about it so bad. It's almost like Inception, which is I don't want to say it's like Inception because Inception is its own genre of film, and the plot of Inception is nothing like the plot of this. But the ending of Inception, where you're like, God damn it, I need more. I need to talk about this ending. That is what happens in The Last Town. To that degree, one of the disappointing things about The Last Town is that it feels like it should just be the climax of Wayward. It would have been a long novel. It would have been, like 600 pages if he had combined both of them. So I understand why it was split. Plus, it's easier to make a nice trilogy than a duology, especially when you have such good writing as Blake Crouch does with this trilogy. But the entire thing felt like the climax of the last novel, which in a way it was, because you had one hell of a cliffhanger with Wayward, and that just was it. It hits the ground running. You start right off in that climax, and it doesn't relent. And so to that degree, I would actually say this was probably, and that's not to say it's a bad novel. All 3 novels were really, really good. But if I had to say one being the most disappointing, it would probably be this one, simply because the other 2 sort of stood up on their own. The first one could have been a standalone. It would have had a kind of Inception-like, I want to talk about ending, much like The Last Town does here. The second one, if you didn't have the cliffhanger, it did have its own solid murder mystery, and it ties that up. The Last Town, it only relies on being the continuation of Wayward, which, like I said, it's a trilogy, so that's what you're expecting. But to that, that's why I felt this was kind of the most disappointing of the 3, in that it didn't really have its own central storyline. It didn't have its own murder mystery like Wayward did. It only exists to tie up and conclude what happened to Wayward. But like I said, it absolutely rocked, and it pulled it off incredibly well. If you haven't read this trilogy, you should check it out. Seriously, check out Pines. The first novel, Pines, one of my favorite novels that I've read this year. It took me like 10 years to read this. These novels came out like a decade ago. I have not watched the series, the science fiction on Sci-Fi, so I can't speak for how they are compared to the books. I imagine, yeah, so this was 2014. This one's almost a decade old. So I can't believe it took me a decade to read this. Seriously, check out Pines. Even if you want to read Pines by itself, that's fine. If you don't like Pines, you're not going to like the second and third titles. But if you love Pines, and I think you're probably going to love Pines, you're going to want to continue on with the second and third titles. But at least with Pines, I've said Pines like 100 times. My camera just did a weird thing. I did record that, it like, woo, it wobbled. And the camera's stationary, so I don't know why I did that. But anyways, Pines does stand as a standalone title if you want to read it, and just try that one out. If you enjoy it, seriously check out Wayward and The Last Town by Blake Crouch. It's an incredible trilogy. Seriously, I don't know what I'm going to read next, but I got to figure it out. If you want to watch more book reviews, I got plenty of them on the channel and a bunch of unboxing videos in between those book reviews. So please consider liking and subscribing. Please check out Blake Crouch and his Wayward Pines trilogy. Check out Dark Matter. Let's try to get, hopefully, another small press will do the excellent small press treatment that this Wayward Pines trilogy deserves, because I feel like Gauntlet and Borderlands didn't quite pull it off. And that's not a dig at those presses, because like I said, I know they've published incredible titles in the past, but it was disappointing in this instance, which is why I didn't even get The Last Town from them. But anyways, thank you very much for watching. We will see you around next time.